Hi, Rangers supporters scattered across every corner of Scotland. Today feels like one of those moments when the wind around Ibrox changes direction and everyone senses that something bigger is brewing beneath the surface. There is no need for introductions or grand announcements because the atmosphere says it all. The club enters this new phase with decisions to be made, gaps to fix, and a squad that no longer feels in balance after what happened earlier in the season. Now, with January approaching, the internal conversations are taking on a more serious tone. The staff behind the scenes are working to identify areas that need attention, especially in the center of the park where the team has lacked stability and structure. It is clear that the midfield must evolve if Rangers want to control matches in Scotland and look more competitive beyond domestic borders. The manager has been told that he will not be left on his own when the window opens. There is an understanding from the hierarchy that reinforcements are essential and that the squad left behind from last summer requires immediate repairs. Midfield has been highlighted as the priority, not only because of its inconsistent performances, but also due to the imbalance created by previous decisions. The idea is not to simply buy bodies, but to target players who bring personality, mobility, intelligence, and the ability to influence matches from the first whistle. That is where the conversation turns to familiar faces, and one name that has quietly risen back into the picture is Josh Windass. The midfielder from Wrexham is now over 30 years of age, but age has never been the problem. What matters is experience, understanding of the club's culture, and the versatility to operate in different roles. There is interest due to his history with the manager and the belief that he can slot in quickly without needing months to adapt to Scottish football again. However, this story does not stop with old acquaintances. The search has widened, and the board is examining players abroad who can bring physicality and authority in possession. That is how the situation around Ayan Ekwa has entered the discussion. The young midfielder, in his early 20s, signed permanently for Saint-Etienne after a loan spell, but everything unraveled due to problems behind the scenes. He has terminated his deal, refused to play, and now finds himself in the middle of a legal dispute. He has not featured in a competitive match since the middle of May, and until the tribunal sorts the disagreement, no club can move forward with full confidence. Still, the talent is there. He stands at roughly 6 feet and 2 inches, carries the frame of a modern midfielder, and has the rare ability to step back into defense when necessary. He has represented France at youth level and comes with a profile that would add something the current squad does not possess. While Rangers monitor his situation, they remain patient. The discussions are alive, but frozen until clarity arrives. It is a risk, but sometimes the players worth chasing come with complications. If his dispute is resolved before January closes, the club will try to take advantage. If not, the interest may need to be held for the future. Either way, his name being on the radar already shows the change in direction. Instead of short-term patchwork, there is intent to build a stronger midfield spine with athleticism and better use of possession. And while all of that unfolds, there is another issue that cannot be ignored, one much closer to home. Bailey Rice's contract situation hangs like a cloud over the club. The teenager, just 19 years of age, is approaching the final year of his deal and talks have stalled. Losing him for nothing next summer would not simply be disappointing, it would feel careless. There are clubs from England watching the situation closely, from the top flight to the Championship, waiting to see if the door opens. Aston Villa and Sunderland have shown an interest, sensing an opportunity to pick up one of Scotland's most promising young midfielders without paying what his talent could genuinely be worth. Rangers find themselves at a crossroads regarding him. allow too much time to pass, and he could walk away with the club gaining nothing. Push too hard without a plan, and the player may choose to leave anyway. The manager wants clarity, the support want progression, and the board must show that the mistakes of previous years will not repeat themselves. Supporters remember how other Scottish talents have left too soon and flourished elsewhere. The risk of watching that happen again feels like a warning that cannot be ignored. If the club want to prove they are learning lessons, this is the moment to act. Not at the end of the season, not when it is too late. All of this creates the backdrop for a crucial January, a window where targets are identified, mistakes need correcting, and the identity of the team begins to shift. A midfield rebuild is no longer a rumor, it is a necessity. The ambition is to bring in strength, mobility, and a sense of order when the ball must be controlled. The supporters want to see a squad shaped with purpose rather than panic, and this winter is where that responsibility falls into place. The sense around Ibrox right now is not one of panic, but of urgency wrapped in expectation. Supporters can feel the shift happening, and it is not just about bringing players in. It is about reshaping the structure of the squad so it finally looks like a Rangers team built for the demands of Scottish football rather than one patched together in reaction to problems. Every decision from now until the end of January will say something about the direction of this project. The coaching staff want footballers who can handle pressure, who understand what it means when the stadium roars after a heavy tackle or a clever pass that breaks the opposition line. Too often, in recent seasons, the midfield has been passive, unable to dictate tempo or carry matches in hostile environments. The ambition this time is to avoid repeating that mistake. That is why the board's commitment to backing the manager has become a major talking point behind closed doors. Promises have been made verbally, but the supporters want to see them materialize in the form of players who can walk into the starting 11 and lift the team immediately. It does not mean signing 10 names, it means signing the right ones. A stronger defensive midfielder, someone who can cover ground, intercept danger, and pass forward with intention. A more creative link in the middle, not just a luxury player, but someone who can read the picture quicker than the opposition. These profiles matter because games in Scotland are often won not by glamour, but by control. Too many times, Rangers have tried to survive matches rather than dominate them. That is where the rebuild must begin. There is also a deeper cultural element at play here. The squad has felt fractured, like several mini-teams existing inside the one dressing room. January provides a chance to clean that up. New arrivals must not only add skill, but also the right mentality. Characters who demand standards, who lift others instead of shrinking when the match turns unpredictable. The connection between the players and the supporters has to feel stronger because Ibrox does not respond to silence or hesitation. The stadium breathes louder when belief is visible, and that has been missing. Scottish football is not a place for passengers. It requires footballers who understand the weight of the badge as much as the tactical details on the training ground. Meanwhile, the saga around Ian Ekwa continues to hover like a shadow over the recruitment meetings. On one hand, his profile fits exactly what the club has lacked: height, presence, the ability to step into defensive spaces and recover ground. On the other hand, the legal circumstances complicate everything. Clubs elsewhere are waiting for clarity, but Rangers have positioned themselves as a serious contender. If the situation resolves in time, there is recognition that taking a calculated risk on a footballer like him could pay off in a way few traditional signings can. The league is physical, the matches are chaotic, and having someone capable of shifting into a backline or blocking transitions could be invaluable, but the club must stay patient because rushing an agreement under legal dispute could cause even greater problems. While midfield remains the center of attention, other areas of the pitch are quietly being evaluated as well. There are players who may need to move on for the rebuild to function properly. Some have struggled to find consistency. Others have lost their place and no longer look like they can recover their form. If the club wants to introduce new energy, space must be created. It is not about disrespecting anyone. It is about recognizing that football moves quickly, and a squad that stands still eventually pays the price in results. The next few weeks may see departures that surprise some, but the goal is to trim stagnation and replace it with purpose, hunger, and players who see Rangers not as a step in their journey, but as the destination they want to fight for. Then there is the Bailey Rice dilemma, a situation that continues to divide opinion. Some believe that keeping him at all costs is the only path. Others argue that a controlled sale with proper valuation might be the right move if the player chooses not to commit his future. What cannot happen is the worst-case scenario, losing him for little to no return. Rangers have seen this story before, watching young Scottish talents go south and flourish in England while the club receives nothing in exchange. It is no longer enough to simply hope contracts sort themselves out. Professionalism demands a structured decision, and this will test the new direction the hierarchy claims to be taking. With interest building from clubs across the border, the situation has become a race against time. The English market is financially stronger, and players know that opportunities there can accelerate a career in a way Scottish football rarely can. But Rangers can offer something England cannot: a chance to play in front of tens of thousands every week, to experience the pressure of winning as an expectation, not a hope, and to live inside a rivalry that defines careers. If the club believes in Rice, they must convince him that his future is not something to gamble with. If the player has his heart set on moving, then the club must ensure they do not surrender leverage. Add to that the broader picture. Rangers are not only rebuilding a squad, they are rebuilding trust. Trust between the board and the manager, trust between the hierarchy and the support, and trust between the club and its players. Consistency of message matters now. Stability matters. For too long, decisions have looked reactive, almost improvised. This January cannot be another example of that. It must be evidence that a plan exists beyond temporary fixes. The club wants to take back control of matches, control of dressing room dynamics, and control of its future assets. That starts with who comes through the door and who leaves, but it does not end there. It extends to every training session, every team selection, every internal conversation that shapes how the squad moves forward in the second half of the season. Supporters do not demand perfection, they demand direction. They want to see a team that plays with conviction rather than hesitation, that makes challenges with authority and moves the ball with purpose rather than panic. They want to see signings that feel like answers instead of gambles. They want Rangers to walk into stadiums in Scotland and set the tone, not react to it. They want to believe that something real is beginning, not another short-lived reset. And if the club gets this window right, if the right profiles arrive and the right decisions are made, January will not just feel like a transfer period, it will feel like the start of something that has been missing for far too long. There is also the question of leadership within the squad. Supporters can see that the team sometimes drifts during difficult spells in matches, moments when someone needs to take control, slow things down, or raise the temperature and spark a reaction. That responsibility cannot fall on only one or two players. Rangers need more voices on the pitch, more footballers who communicate, organize, and refuse to let momentum slip. January gives the club the chance to target personalities as much as technical ability, individuals who understand that leadership is not just about armbands or shouting, but about consistency, presence, and setting standards others follow. This is an aspect of recruitment that has too often been overlooked, and correcting that could be just as important as any tactical improvement. At the same time, the training ground becomes a key battleground. The manager is working to impose a structure that feels more modern, with clearer patterns in possession and more aggression when pressing. But ideas only come alive with the right profiles to execute them. Players who can handle the ball, break lines, and cover space are essential for a system that asks more of the midfield. That is why the club's recruitment must align with the manager's identity instead of forcing square pegs into round holes. If January brings footballers who genuinely fit the style, then the second half of the season could look very different from the first. If these decisions are mismatched again, the same problems will repeat, and the rebuild will stall before it even begins. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Whispers around Ibrox are growing louder, and the name doing the rounds is Ben Johnson. While nothing has been officially confirmed, there's a strong sense that Rangers could be edging closer to reinforcing a position that has long been under scrutiny. Sources close to the club suggest that Johnson is being seriously considered as a solution for the right side of the defense, a move that could quietly but significantly raise the team's overall level. The speculation points towards a player valued not just for his athleticism, but for his tactical awareness and consistency. Johnson is spoken of as a modern fullback, comfortable holding his line yet capable of stepping forward when the moment demands it. Within the dressing room chatter, there is a belief that his arrival would bring balance, allowing Rangers to be more secure without sacrificing width or intensity. What makes this rumor particularly intriguing is how it fits the broader picture. Rangers have been keen to solidify their defensive base, especially in matches where fine margins decide everything. Johnson is seen as someone who reads the game well, times his challenges cleanly, and offers reliability in one-on-one situations. These are qualities that resonate strongly with supporters who value grit as much as flair. There is also talk that the coaching staff admire his professionalism and adaptability in tight contests. A dependable fullback can be the difference between control and chaos, and Johnson's profile appears to match what Rangers are seeking at this stage. Some insiders even suggest that his presence could free others around him to play with greater confidence, knowing the flank is well protected. For now, it remains a rumor, the sort that thrives in the spaces between official statements and matchday noise. Yet the idea of Ben Johnson pulling on the Rangers shirt has sparked genuine interest. If the speculation proves accurate, it could represent a shrewd piece of business, one that strengthens the defensive unit and quietly signals intent for what lies ahead. Greetings, fans! Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned